So one thing with MLB The Show in comparison to tons of other games out there, it's no real meta. There's not one singular thing that, everyone does at all times that works for everyone. It's not like Call of Duty where you play Warzone and they have, oh, this is your best loadout, and a ton of people could use that loadout and do well with it. MLB The Show, you could use an infinite amount of lineups and players and options on your team that you could somehow do well with. And this just leaves a lot of room for hot takes and crazy takes that, not every other person in the community is going to agree with. So what we're going to do today, I asked on Twitter for some people's hot takes about MLB The Show 21, whether it's basic stuff about gameplay and features they add in the game, or players that they hate or enjoy in the game. We're going to go through these, react to them, give my initial reactions, make this a fun little discussion. And if you have any of your own hot takes that you think people are going to disagree with, I would love to see your comments. I would love to do this for YouTube comments down the road too, because my Twitter audience is completely different from many of you guys who are on the YouTube here. Let's get into it. So this is the tweet. This is the tweet that I put out telling people that I want to focus less so about like the servers and, the current state of the game, but more so about like players and things that they like about the game. I want to talk about these preferential things because I think this is really where there's a fun conversation. Talking about players that are overrated, underrated, and this could really spur you to try some players that you may not have before. So we're just going to go one by one. Let's work our way down. We're starting it off hot with Ochev. Obviously, Ochev has some interesting opinions on the game, being like me who just really likes playing this game all the damn time. He thinks that Cedric Mullins is still a top 3 lefty bat in the game right now. And he's zooming away. He also says Tony Gwynn F's and nobody knows. And I think this is really interesting. Both these players are worth talking about here. First, we have 98 Cedric, and I think this card is actually a very good hitter. Not enough people really gave him a good go for the All-Star Game content just because of the defense, which I guess is fair, but the bat is there. He's got above 115 contact versus both sides at P2. The power is top tier with 101.90. It's a lot like Trey Turner, and people love that Trey Turner. And the speed is good enough in the outfield. You play him in any position out there. I would probably play him in like left field with his noodle arm he has. And honestly, I want a better 99 Cedric with more viable defense because he's actually a good defender. It just didn't show up on this card for the type of card they released at this point. Top 3 bat in the game as a lefty? Let me see if I can name 3 that I think are better. Lou Gehrig, I think, might be the best lefty bat in the game right now. I personally think Schwarber is a better bet. I could see this being close with a guy like Luis Gonzalez, who I personally love, and I know my hot take, this card doesn't get used enough. But like, I could see how Cedric slides into 3, I tried Bellinger, and he's mostly just really good versus righties. Yelich is kind of the same way. He's mostly just a righty platoon guy. A lot of people like Bryce Harper. I haven't given this card enough a go. I bet you there's at least one comment somewhere saying this card is the best card in the game, because I've seen that a lot on my tier lists. I could see how Cedric slides into the 3 spot, genuinely. He's got a Trey Turner-like swing with the early stride. Tony Gwynn also, since we're talking about this. A lot of people saw the low power, didn't even give this card a go, and honestly, that is just disrespectful. If you played MLB The Show 19, you know Tony Gwynn at the start of the year hit nukes. I don't exactly know how, but like the high contact, the great defense he has, the speed, he's not going to have any issues other than potentially the power. And yeah, some deep parks you'll play at, the ball may die a little bit, the ball may not carry, you may not find as many gaps. He's going to square up the ball a lot. He's going to hit a lot of really good swings with that high contact. And I'm going to see a couple other tweets about this. Players like Tony Gwynn, Wade Boggs, who have the high contact, lower-ish power, are severely underused players in this game just because of their lack of power. Year-to-year saves being taken away as a feature has really affected my drive to want to create a new franchise. I mean, listen, I have not played much franchise this year, Kasabe. I think this is an interesting point because I think it's definitely somewhat valid, but I think it just had to happen because of the transition to next gen, Hopefully they add that back next year for you franchise folk. Here we go. Rod Carew and Wade Boggs are underrated. They don't have all the power that other cards do, but consistently get hits, and Carew has a great stance and swing. Just like we were saying with like Cedric Mullins, I mean, we were talking about Tony Gwynn before. Just because they don't have 110 plus power doesn't mean they're unusable. They square up the ball all the time, and Rod Carew, Tony Gwynn, Wade Boggs as well, are all these type of players that, you know, are a little slappy. They don't have the most power ever, but they could still hit the ball hard. I like these takes. I really do. Whoever keeps on commenting on my tier list video saying this card is not S tier 99 Pudge, you try him and then talk to me. Try him, keep him in your lineup for a bit. This card is essentially like those Wade Boggs type players, but at catcher with elite level defense. Another hot take, Mickey Mantle is overrated and there are other options that you could easily use over him in the outfield. I don't think it's his stats. This, I'm not really sure if I agree with Fager. I mean, in terms of outfielders, obviously you were saying the attributes are there, and they are. Just look at the attributes of Parallel 4. Like, this is end game level outfielder, and just saying, he's still hitting really well for me. It does bear a point that not every single player is going to love players that have the really good attributes. They could have the attributes. It doesn't mean you're going to personally do well with them. Their swings, their stances all affect our own timings and things and approaches at the plate. And I can see why people struggle with Mantle, because I've heard of a few people who have struggled, and it happens. Barry Larkin's swing generates the best exit velo I've seen. You know what, Dooney? I agree. I agree with this take. I am the biggest Barry Larkin stan, and I'm glad that Thuney is a part of the club. Heavily underused card at shortstop here. He's got a great, well-rounded swing to all fields, man. I wish this card got more love, but you know what? I'm kind of happy it doesn't, because it's me and Thuney's card. We're going to keep rocking Barry. I'm going to keep using him until I get Ernie Banks at least, because I'm really having fun with this card. He's got power to all fields. Best Barry Larkin we've seen in MLB The Show. Live Series Danny Jansen is one of the most underrated BR cards in the game. See, I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, I know catcher is a definitely deep position in BR with all the BR draft cards. What is there to enjoy about Danny Jansen? They didn't even give him quirks. Like, oh, I'm sure. Matt Kemp is the second best outfielder in the game right now. I wish I could agree. I wish I could agree, Michael. I wish. But listen, I could name 5 outfielders I liked over Kemp. Mantle, Bellinger, Hank Aaron, Tyler O'Neill, even Giancarlo Stanton I think I've enjoyed over him. But I haven't used this Kemp the most. Okay, maybe he does have a point. Maybe I gotta use Matt Kemp more. Maybe this card should have been starting on my team a little more. I guess I'm gonna buy him on my alt account, give him another go. Kelenic and Gwynn form 2 of the top 3 outfielders in the game. I will stand on this mound. Okay, JoJo. Interesting take here. I used Kelenic on my alt and I have enjoyed him. This card is solid. Top 3 though, no. There's so many really good outfielders right now. Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Mickey Mantle. Like, oh, I can't say that. I will say they are underused. They are not used as much as they could be used. Frank Schwindel's monthly card is better than MVP Frank Thomas. Thomas's swing is just garbage. See, I don't know about this one. I just don't know, because again, Frank is someone I've done well with. This card is a very well-rounded hitter, but he's a tall fella. He's got a weird stride in his swing that gets to people, so I see that. I have not touched Schwindel at all, but I'm just really interested in why this is the card you're using. Like, don't get me wrong, Schwindel's not bad, but there's way better at first base. Like, look at all these players you have. Gotta be a Cubs fan, right? You gotta be a Cubs fan using Schwindel, right? Live Series Tatis is better than Live Series Trout P5. See, this is where I'm starting to get to a point where I don't know if I agree. With Live Series Tatis, look at the contact. I mean, I could see in BR, but like, the contact is too low. I know Live Series Tatis didn't have this level of contact all year, but I can't support that. Trout is nasty, like too good versus righties, you know? Hard to disagree with you, sir. Honus Wagner is 100 times better than Trey Turner. This is what I find interesting, because honestly, Honus is really good. I don't see enough people using him though. I mean, I don't use him much. Look at the little amount I've used him. This man has crushed it. Big thing with Honus is the power. People see the power and they're like, oh, it's not that top level power like Trey Turner has. Or they just don't like his swing, because sometimes Honus swings a noodle for people. I've had that issue in years past. I don't know. This card just feels different. He feels even better this year than in years past for me. I love Trey. Like the defense. We can't be rocking silver defense at shortstop at this point in the year unless they have like 100+ power versus both sides. We can't. I know Trey's a beast, but like, we got to show more love to the other shortstops in the game at this point. Hank Aaron is an amazing card with a great swing. Is that a hot take? Because I mean, I agree, but like, this should be how the card plays, like look at the attributes, like he should be amazing. This is one that needs to be talked about here. Willie Mays is not an end game outfielder. Do I agree with it? No, like he's definitely end game with the attributes, but for many people, they're not gonna love his swing. I've had issues with Willie Mays' swing in years past. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just his slow stride to the plate, but it kind of gets in my own head. I don't do the best with him, and a lot of people are in that same boat. For some reason, Willie Mays just doesn't hit as hard as he could with the attributes. The attributes could be there, but if you don't do personally well at the swing, it doesn't matter because you're not squaring up the ball often. So to an extent, I agree with this. I think Willie Mays is definitely an endgame outfielder and will be for many. But some people are going to struggle with him, and that's perfectly okay because it happens. Anthony Rizzo is a ringer in the bullpen. I mean, listen, you can get away with using this Rizzo. Honestly, like you can in like BR, but like, listen, I don't want to ever use a reliever only like looping curveballs as a pitcher, but I have enjoyed drafting him in BR. Stadium Creator is the most welcome addition to MLB The Show since launch. It's so much fun to go in and create, and it's stress-free. I genuinely agree with this. One of my favorite things about this year's game is Stadium Creator, and being able to choose your stadium, build something of your own, have a creative idea, and find a way to build it, or just download someone else's stadium. When playing on Next Gen, it makes it so much more of a fun experience. I can't tell you how much I have gotten burnt out playing at Chip It Stadium and like the same few stadiums for these last few years of the game. It's absolutely melted my brain. And even if it's at a custom stadium with 5,000 elevation, at least it's a different environment, and it completely makes it more bearable to me because at least something fresh and you have a different experience each game. Now we got to keep on growing Stadium Creator into something bigger and better because we need to keep on improving it for the sake of Diamond Dynasty. I like that take a lot. People are obsessed with only using cards that are the meta or maxed. It leads to diminishing other cards. It's fun to make theme teams and use cards that are less spotlighted. It's understandable for players in higher difficulties, but people need to learn to have fun. Probably an unpopular take as well by reasons like pinpoint pitching. I still love analog. Okay, let's talk about the two parts of this. The first part about the meta. I agree with this. I don't want to act like I'm not a part of the problem because I make my tier list rating cards, but like there are a lot of really viable and good cards despite the meta and the best attribute cards out there. There really are, and there's so many really good players. It is fun for many people to just relax, not take the game so seriously, and just use fun players. And I'm starting to do this more as of late because right now, in terms of trying to compete and trying to win every single game, the game's in a weird state right now. So, you know, I just like to enjoy using different players. That's why I made an alternate account. I have a second account that I can't use any players on my God Squad, and I've really enjoyed it, man. I agree, there are a lot of really good players that aren't the meta that people should show love to, and many people just need to have some fun, you know? The pinpoint pitching thing, obviously it's all preference. I know some people have not liked it. Some people didn't get a good feel of it. Some people just didn't like the interface, which I get, you know? It makes pitching a little bit of a hassle. I was someone who's been playing this game for God knows how long. I'm over analog pitching after using it for the last like 2 years before. So I actually have enjoyed pinpoint. Jackie Robinson is still the best second baseman in the game. I mean, listen, early on in the year when I got Jackie, this man was actually super good. I hit 426 with him, 1400 OPS. That's like elite. I would say in terms of primary second baseman, I could see this take. But when we throw in secondaries, there are a lot of two good options like Soriano with more pop, new Matt Carpenter, playing a shortstop at second. I agree Jackie is still really damn good, and that's definitely fair because Jackie Robinson. But if you were to ask me, I don't know if he's the best. You know, Mookie's just the guy, most well-rounded card. He's got the contact, he's got more power. The collection rewards have gotten worse, each one that's released. Chipper, greater than Mo, greater than Mookie, greater than Kershaw. See, I don't know if I agree with this. I don't know if I could say Mo is more valuable than Mookie. I think if you were to ask me, Mookie is probably the best or the second best in terms of the players. I mean, the thing with Chipper, the main reason he's so good is because there isn't as much competition in his position. He doesn't have as many players that compete with him at third base. Yes, there's a new Arenado that came out. Torkelson is solid as well. But I don't know if I can say that this is the order for me. I mean, I like Kershaw a lot. All these players have been used. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with this, to be honest with you. I could maybe see why you feel this way in terms of like how valuable they may be to your team. You know, a lot of people didn't even show love to Kershaw, but I'm going to disagree with this. Needs to be more things you could do offline. Grind games stale without content. Not everyone likes playing online. I agree with this hard displays. Me being someone who plays this game all the time, I don't want to always use my team in ranked seasons. And the thing is, you have conquest maps. It's like fine, but it's so repetitive. And even more than that, it's like once you complete a conquest map, that's it. What's the enjoyment of it? They need some offline modes you could use your players in on your God squad that you can maybe repeat, but like something that gives you a good rewarding experience, you know? Showdown, you use the grind over and over again, not for the end reward of the showdown, but to get progress of something, you know? Conquest maps, you get the packs and stuff in there, and that's most of the reward of completing it, other than like, again, progress or something. Let us have some mode we can do where the reward is us winning in that mode, and make that like, oh, the more you win or the better you do in this offline mode, you get something out of it. Year in, year out, they wait too long to drop 99 Griffey. Hey, this is interesting because I agree to an extent. 99 Griffey, I think, is a card that should be out earlier rather than later because it's Ken Griffey Jr. It's a big name, someone everyone wants. And it feels like they're waiting even longer at points. I mean, we haven't gotten it yet. And we're starting to get these big name outfielders, and they're trying to, you know, progress to this. And their way of mediating it was releasing the 96 Griffey, which people did use. People did use the 96 Griffey a good bit. Even again, like that quickly died out. Like a lot of these other players are more wanted players. And if you were to ask me, I don't know if this is ever going to be something you could see solved. I don't know if you're going to be able to release the card early enough to where people are happy and excited to use the player without having the problem of like, oh, he's the only outfielder you see in everyone's lineups. They try to push lineup variety, want different players to be used, and some players should be in the earlier part of the game, while some should be released later on. But I do agree, Griffey is someone that I feel like is an exception. That's someone that needs to be in people's hands as nearly as soon as you can, in my opinion. Nico Goodrum needs a 99 over because 42 series card may have been one of his favorite cards I've ever used, up there with Mondesi. I like this because I did like Nico Goodrum. Issue is, I don't know if he's ever played like a 99. I don't know if he needs a 99 card. I would love a 99. But I will say I did like his 42 series card a lot. XP reward path and inning programs last year were done way better. Only meaningful things they added was the classics pack. Also, JT Realmuto is the best catcher in the game by far. Of course, there's the JT Realmuto take that everyone tells me in my tier lists. Thing is with the XP reward path and inning programs last year, the XP reward path was such a grind. And it was like a one-time thing, you know? Once you got the players, it was like, yeah, that's it. And the issue with the XP reward path is like, you would grind it and you would have those players included in there. Since it was an all year grind for many people, they need to be good off the rip, but also throughout the year. So like you had players like 99 Kershaw, which were OP. You had other players that, you know, people really wanted because they were the best in the game at that point. And you had this really bad imbalance issue of people only using the same players. Like it was a lot like the issue with DeGrom this year where everyone got 99 DeGrom and he's basically been in their rotations all year. But even worse because that happened like week one of the game. People would get a really overpowered pitcher and have them in their team all year essentially. Inning programs though, I liked inning programs a lot more last year. This I agree with. I like the idea of having things to do off the rip, being able to get the bosses kind of soon. You know, the bosses drop and getting the bosses not most difficultly within a couple days was nice. The only downside of how inning programs were last year, they were done so quick, the bosses were so cheap within a day. So like at least bosses hold their value more here, but it's so much more of a grind. It's a lot more time. I don't get that same enjoyment of like getting the bosses 3 weeks in, 2 weeks in comparison to like doing the inning programs, wanting the player and getting them kind of quick without having to like play versus CPU and crap over and over and over again. Also, no, JT Realmuto is not the best catcher in the game. Okay, Kyle Schwarber is. Next question. So Operation Sports comes in with this. People who complain about quitters are bigger losers than the quitters. Good the game. What is there to be mad about? Why complain about leaving? This is an interesting one because they want to play a full game. They're not complaining about the individual person. I think they just want, like many of us want the experience of a full game. So when you do get rage quits, it takes away from that. I will say they offer a viable point. You know, if you do have a really good game, if you're winning like 8-0, I get that. That's viable to get a rage quit. It's perfectly fine. That I get it. But sometimes you play a game and like you'll take a 1-0 lead and people are like, nope, that's it, I'm done. Because a lot of times they grind for the 30 wins and that takes away from the game. You don't have as many competitive baseball. People don't want to try as much. They just want to get their wins. And it's not the player's fault. I think it's just the structure of ranked season at this point that needs to be improved over time. Game got ruined when you couldn't grind out the program starts day one with Showdown. It's funny how we just talked about this. I don't know if I say the game got ruined, but I would say being able to work on that stuff right away did help. I mean, obviously this year you had those other things to do day one. But for me, I think the system last year was a good way of getting the bosses right away, giving that an enjoyable experience, you know? Now I don't really look forward to programs as much like they say. I kind of just get them bit by bit. And also, you can't even complete old programs. Once they're done, they're done. The player's in the market and that's it. And it's fun to have those things to do. Luis Urias is the best third baseman in the game. No bias either. Yeah, JT. Definitely no bias in that take. TA3 Rafael Devers is not a platoon bat and is arguably the best third baseman in the game. I could see why people enjoy Devers. You know, he's really good versus righties right now in this part of the game. And you face a lot of righties in ranked now. So I could see why, you know, this is a take. Because, you know, maybe you don't face many lefties. But he's definitely a platoon bat. On the higher levels of the game, I wouldn't love to start him versus lefties, but I could see him getting the boost of quirks because he is an all-star series card. And then again, I haven't given this card really a go this year, and I can't really prove this, but I've heard a lot of people enjoy this card despite the splits and attributes, so it doesn't really shock me. Arguably the best third baseman in the game, I think that might be a stretch when guys like even Vinny Casillas seem more appealing to me. Like all these dudes, other than like Eddie Matthews and Paul Molitor, would be players I would use above Devers right now. And yeah, maybe not Brooks Robinson. There are at least 10 second basemen and outfielders I would rather use in 99 Mookie. See, this I've been kind of feeling, because as of late, you know, I haven't been doing the best of them. I mean, I hit 304 with Mookie. In comparison to my other players I have out there, I could probably get better by using just Jackie Robinson at second. I think that, I don't know if it's like Mookie's swing. I don't know if it's just because I mostly face righties, maybe 106 power isn't enough. But yeah, I feel like I should be doing better with Mookie than I do. And I could see why people want to use other options. I mean, Jazz is just a fun player IRL. I would want to use him. Jackie Robinson I've mashed with. And in terms of outfield, yeah, I could definitely see this. Matt Kemp is a contender for best card in the game and has the best swing easily. That's the second time I've seen Matt Kemp mentioned. You know what? Apparently, I gotta try Matt Kemp. Franco Park and FOD has better RNG than Chip It. I mean, listen, you play at Chip It Stadium, you're gonna get the most fluky stuff. So you play any other stadium than Chip It, even Coors Field, you're gonna get a better gameplay experience than Chip It with all of the fluky stuff. So you know what? Is that really a hot take? Ranked should be only played on Hall of Fame or Legend difficulty. Actually make it a ranked mode. I mean, I don't know about this, because if you do this, you're gonna really keep many people away from it. The issue with the ranked is it's not like a ranked mode like you mentioned. It has a reward at the end of it. I had like a little bit of a rant on this on Twitter a while back. If you have rewards and players in it, you can't treat it like a normal ranked mode. People are going to grind for the rewards. They're going to do what they can to get that. So like you can't treat it like a normal ranked mode. Like I compared to other non-sports games, for example, that have ranked modes. The only stuff you get out of going up in the ranks is like visual stuff in the game. And that's what drives people to play the mode. They want to go up in the ranks. The rank is what's significant. And in ranked seasons right now, that's not what matters. People just want the World Series packs. They want the players. So they do what they can to grind those out. And the ratings don't mean much. If you build out a ranked mode with the intent of focusing on the ranking, the rating, I think that would be a more fun ranked experience. And you could release those players in other ways, you know? Or maybe you leave ranked seasons, don't treat it as a ranked mode, keep the structure as it is, but you also add a separate ranked mode where it is about your rating, and that really drives, you know, competitive baseball, not an experience where you have people quitting so they could grind out their 30 wins for the World Series pack. I care about Road to the Show a lot, used to be my mode, I feel like it's ignored, especially compared to other career modes. This I think is really interesting because I agree, a lot of people, like, we love Diamond Dynasty. I think a lot of people play Road to the Show. It honestly might be a majority of people. And they have kind of thrown it a little bit to the side to focus on Diamond Dynasty. I mean, it's the mode that probably makes them the most money because people buy stubs and so on. So it makes sense that they're focusing on it. And they tried to like make it work with Road to the Show this year. And I think and I think it may have hurt them a bit. I think Road to the Show could be fun. I used to love it. I played as a kid. It was my first mode I played when I got on PS4, MLB The Show again. Over the last couple years, I've had zero desire to play it. It feels like it just rinse and repeat, nothing exciting about it. There's no narrative in the mode, you know? You look at, like, say, 2K and their careers, a lot more immersion in story and reason to want to play the career itself. So I actually think this is a fair take. I don't even know if it's a hot take. Despite the glaring issues at times, the gameplay is the best it's been since 17. I mean, I didn't play MLB 17 much, but I think I would somewhat agree. I mean, I think right now there's a weird state in the game where like you see a lot of fluky stuff fall, but like I think the game has been the most in our personal control right now in terms of gameplay than it ever has been. With pinpoint pitching, you're able to hit more spots. With perfect perfects, you get more rewarding hits. Overall, you know, it's not, I don't have issues overall scoring runs in games. I don't have issues with pitching. Like, if I lock in and pay attention, I feel like I can go out there and compete. These last couple of years, there have been some other things that have been all over the place. I think I'm someone that does agree the gameplay, I think it gradually gets better each year. Step by step, it gets better. While there are some issues that are different each year that, you know, are the standout things, I think I can say that this game has gotten better as the years have gone on. And I actually like this take a lot because a lot of people go back to MLB 17. I've heard people even say MLB 18 was better at points. And if you played MLB The Show 18, oh man, even me, the filthy casual back then, couldn't stand it. DeGrom is BP on anything besides Legend. This is a fair point. I don't do the best with DeGrom. I have like, what, a 4 ERA with him? 4.5 ERA. It's not the most difficult to hit. When you play against good players on Hall of Fame, they can hit the ground pretty well, especially if they get outlier down. But if you don't get outlier down, he's gonna absolutely own you. It's like a scale thing. Like, if you struggle with this type of thing, you're gonna get owned by DeGrom. But as you get towards the good players, they start to get better and better against them. And then on Legend difficulty, when players aren't that great on Legend, that's the most difficult part of the game. I mean, people are going to struggle against him very often because of the stuff he has. So. Stadium Creator added more problems than its positives. Conquest is a relic that needs to be improved. Showdown is and the cap being tied to Road to Show, just the worst for players of both modes. There's a lot of hot takes here, Zabby. Let's talk about this. We just talked about Stadium Creator. I just said this is my favorite part of the game before, and other people agreed with that too. It added more problems than positives. What problems did it add? That's what I'm curious about. What problems did Stadium Creator add? I mean, I think if he specified, then I would be able to back it more. But I just don't know what problems it added. I mean, even if you play 5,000 elevation crazy stadiums, I wouldn't say that's an overall problem. I think it just needs some slight tweaking. It's something that doesn't bother me as much, but it could just be a me thing. Conquest is a relic that needs to be improved. I agree, Conquest does have room for improvement. It's just repetition. Showdown, I don't think Showdown is terrible. I think the issue with Showdown is that a lot of times it's being sold as like, oh, you should do multiple Showdowns to get progress. And it's either like, oh, it takes so long to complete the Showdown, or it's too difficult. Or on the reverse, it's a cakewalk and just doing it over and over again. And I think the core of Showdown could be fun, but you got to make the reward at the end fun. Like, I don't know, like you could treat it like a BR type thing, for example, where like you do Showdown and there's like maybe an RNG aspect where like, oh, at the end you have a shot at getting a really good player. You add some fun element to make it more exciting. I will say this point, capping tied Road to Show, I think I agree. I think, first of all, it slightly hindered the Road to the Show experience, but even more than that, it made caps even more used, even more good and difficult to balance. And, caps, in my opinion, are something that, in terms of making Diamond Dynasty competitive and more fun, shouldn't be in the mode. The only reason people use them is because they're meta. They use them because they are the best players. That's 90% of people. Some people use them for fun, and it sucks how it has to be ruined for them. But most people use them for that purpose, and there's no reason to have them other than that purpose. Most good players in this game agree that caps should not be in the game. They just use it because they feel like their team needs to be, have that player on their team for the sake of it. Weekend League is not needed. I've heard mixed things on Weekend League. I don't know if it is what it's needed. I think Weekend League does not itself need to be needed. I've heard it's very tedious. At points, it feels like a job. I think they need to come up with their own better ranked version mode, though. So like a lot of people think the solution is Weekend League, and I'm not sure if that's what it is. I've heard some mixed things on Weekend League. It's all like, we only look at the good of it in MLB The Show because, you know, all of us are very passionate about this game. But I don't know how much it would really work. Biggest step in MLB The Show history. Xbox release and parallel system alone gave it that title. New revamped things in MLB The Show is a bigger step than anything. Stuff like Creative Stadium, daily moments, and new inning programs, name a few. I do agree. While this year is definitely been a mixed bag in terms of the community, I think this is the biggest step. Cross-platform is big. It really is. Getting all these new players and expanding to a new player base is big for this game because they haven't been able to do that. And it's all about, for me, the potential of the future. Like, where can this game go in the future? And this year was a big jump. I think more than anything with how I feel about this year, it was good, but it could have been even better. The possibilities could have been endless. I don't know if it's our expectations being set too high, but things could have been even better. Like, you know, say we weren't having server issues, you know? That would make it a more enjoyable experience. Say we didn't have this weird imbalance of hits per 9. I think that would have been fun for the Diamond Dynasty card variety. There are things to be improved on, as there are every year. But I will say, yes, I think this is the biggest step up MLB The Show has ever had. Creative Stadium, definitely one of the big things that I think is a big part of that. Daily moments, to be frank, I may sound blunt here. I think dailies are neat. They kind of miss on the reward side of it. Like daily moments, the core of it's good, you know, give us something to do each day. The rewards aren't really the most worth it. And then new inning programs, I don't know if I like new inning programs. And I think these are very controversial to people. But I think, like you said, the parallels, custom stadiums, definitely a big jump for the game, and a lot of good has come out of it, like Pinpoint as well. Chipper Jones still #1 hitter in the game. #1 hitter for me. I mean, he's got a 1500 OPS still for me, so I can kind of vouch for this. I don't know if I've done this well as a hitter at all this year, and I don't know exactly why, but I kind of like this take, Mark. This isn't even that much of a hot take, but it's very fair. Silver 2017 Mike Zunino is the single best BR card that isn't a diamond. I can vouch for this. I love Zunino. 500 batting average. Yeah, this is definitely one of the best BR cards. Absolutely love this take. 98 Eugenio Suarez is better than Chipper. See, here's the thing. I think Suarez is severely underrated. I mean, I don't even say he's underrated, but it's like he's just a victim of all the really good cards you have in the game. I wanted to really give this card a go. I just don't know where to put him on my team. I don't know where I can use him because I love Chipper too much, but I will say this card is definitely very solid. I would love to give him a go. 98 Garrett Hampson is a God squad level card. I did use him a little bit on my alt squad, and this card is definitely solid. The high level of contact, diamond defense in the outfield. This card is actually pretty solid. Great like starter card for like 10K stubs, and when I was using him offline, he hit the ball hard, man. Mike Moose, diamond card, best lefty bat in the game. I'm gonna 100% disagree, but we love Moose. We love Moustakis in this channel, that's for sure. Cronenworth 98 card is elite. I haven't seen him used enough, but I've heard a lot of people had enjoyed him earlier on in the year. The quirks are good. The attributes versus righties are good. I haven't used them at all, though. So you know what? Maybe I should give the Crone Zone a go. How take the CPU makes every single catch and play against me, and every good swing I hit is a routine fly ball. I'm kind of confused by what this is supposed to mean. I don't know if this is really a hot take. Are we trying to say that the CPU, like, it's a hot take how the CPU makes every defensive play and catch against you? I'm kind of confused. TA2 DeGrom still best pitcher in the game. I don't know if I agree with that. I think Verlander, Felix, I liked more. But he's definitely one of the best pitchers in the game because of the high hits per 9, the outlier, and a lot of people have him super factored now, so makes him even better. TA3 jumped the shark and ramped up overalls too quickly. Cards can be fun and juice without overreaching. There were some benefits of TA3. It was fun to give top tier cards for the current players in the game. People love current players, they enjoy. There were some imbalances with it, and I wouldn't say it jumped up the overalls too quickly, but I think what it did was it was a step ahead. A lot of people were using the TA3 cards, and then other cards that were released just after weren't as good. And part of it was because the restrictions they had. They chose like current live series type players that are having really good years. And they treated them a lot like how finest cards were at the end of the year, but halfway through the year. So I will say, I think TA3 had some slight issues with the balance of releases this year. It wasn't perfect. It had some good though, and I think it was good to get some of those players out there. I think the issue was the other cards hadn't caught up very well. Game is dry right now and just a bit boring, I kind of feel this. You know, the postseason programs are neat. A TA drop is really going to be the thing, the last like hoorah of this game. I feel like at this part of the year, things do start to slow down a bit. Wade Boggs again, best third baseman in the game, including Chipper. A lot of people love him. Tim Anderson is a top 3 shortstop in the game. Goat's a really good player. Like, this dude's a top player. Tim Anderson is a card that has definitely been underused. He came out at a reasonable part of the year. People just stuck with Trey Turner. But honestly, man, like, yeah, this card should have been used way more than he was, to be honest with you. I'm surprised I haven't seen him used more, but I've also heard of a lot of people struggling with him. He had broken bat home runs with trash PCIs. Huh? 99 Kike, greater than 99 Trout. Thing is, I don't know if we could say this because 99 Trout hasn't come out, you Dodger man. Ohtani isn't even a rotation-worthy starter. I feel this. Ohtani isn't the best pitch mix-wise, doesn't have the best control, and not many people hit the best with them. I mean, I hit 200 with them, so I could see this. I don't even think this is that hot of a take, to be honest with you. Hank Aaron's swing is terrible, and he's not even a bench bat. Oh, I mean, listen, I've heard a lot of people struggle with it, so I don't think it's that hot of a take because I've heard of the struggles, but definitely not for me. Giancarlo Stanton is a top 5 hitting card in the game. If you don't like him, you simply suck with them. That's how cards work. I get what you're trying to say. You know, if you don't like him, you're just not good with them, which is normal. It's normal not like a card you're not good with. Some people just don't like his stance, but I love Stanton. I haven't used him much this 98, but I love Stanton's boosted cards. Tommy Edmonds, the best second baseman in the game. Just like Harrison Bader's top 3 center fielder in the game. Definitely no bias in this whatsoever, Cream. Definitely not. I mean, don't get me wrong. This Edmond card could slap. I got to use him online. The high contact switch hitting is nice. I could maybe see that in terms of best primary second baseman, but I'm sorry. I can't put Harrison Bader in top 3 outfielders. Not when he's got 72 and 65 versus lefties. I'm sorry. I can't. And even the attributes versus righties aren't even that good, Cream. I thoroughly enjoyed the game for the most part. Collection building, daily, weekly, monthly challenge. One of the best formats of an Ultimate Team I've enjoyed for quite some time. I think a lot of people who first get into the game will feel this way. Us people who have been playing the game a lot, who really care about gameplay, we get very analytical and critical about things. But I could see why newer players enjoyed it. It feels like this game did a good job of, I don't want to say catering to you guys, but they did a good job of appealing to you guys and doing things for all you new players. And I think that's great. Getting a first impression for you, Xbox players trying the game for the first time, and making that good was definitely valuable. And I think they definitely nailed it this year in terms of like many of the core aspects of the game. Lou Brock is an elite outfielder. A lot of people have not used him enough. He actually is pretty solid. This card is very slappy. He's like a Tony Gwynn type card we were talking about earlier, but except with like 99 speed. Your catcher pop time has been effed and not enough people are talking about it. Well, the timer never shows up. That's weird. That, I haven't had much issue. I've thrown out plenty of runners. I guess maybe it could be like an issue with whatever platform you're playing on. Maybe you're on current gen, maybe. Mark Canha is cracked. Vouch. 91 Eloy, very good bench bat. I mean, yeah, he's a solid bat. At this point in the game, though, I don't know who's going to use him on their bench with all the good hitters we have, but he's solid. Mookie Betts is overrated. I've seen a lot of people not love Mookie Betts too much. My hot take is that people need to STF you about hits per 9. It's overrated. I mean, this might be a little dramatic. I don't think we need to tell people to shut the F up about hits per 9. But I think people have become a little too analytical about it. What you want is a good combination of hits per 9 and the pitch mix. And there's a certain like threshold of hits per 9. You know, like I like Kershaw. He's been solid for me. And he has 108 hits per 9, 107 hits per 9 on his base card. But there are some players where it does matter. Like David Price, for example. At this point in the year, we should not have gotten a David Price card with like, 90 hits per 9. It's going to be very difficult to be effective on the higher levels of the game with this card. Just because of the bigger PCIs that hits per 9. JV sucks. Hey, he's gotten rocked a lot as of late for people. So, I mean, look at me. I have like a 5 ERA with the guy, 4 ERA with him. So that doesn't shock me much. And those are all of the takes. I can't believe you went through all that. This is 45 minutes of recording, 68 comments we went through. And I may have missed a couple more. But I thought this was fun, man. It was fun to talk about some of the stuff of the game, talk about everyone's opinions. I think there's a lot of interesting hot takes. And I would really recommend, if you're listening to this video and trying to have some fun with the game, try some of the players that some people mentioned here. Anyone that was said was to be underrated and so on, you're looking to have some fun, mix up your team, try out new players. I think there are a lot of interesting hot takes to be had out there. A lot of people have different opinions and experiences with the game. And it's funny to think how many of us can think these are hot takes. But I bet you there are at least there are a ton of you in the comments who are watching this who probably agree with a fair amount of these takes. What is your hot take in MLB The Show? What is that take that you think everyone is going to disagree with you on? Leave in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts. If we can build up enough of a comment section, maybe we'll do this for another YouTube video down the road. But I appreciate you all watching. If you sat through all this, you're a legend. Make sure you like the video and make sure you sub for more MLB The Show content on here. And I appreciate you all watching and keeping up with the channel. You all have a great rest of your day. See you all again on the next one. Deuces.